Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take the vast ocean of information and distill it down to the essential, fascinating current.
Today, we are charting the unparalleled career of an artist who didn't just adapt to pop culture.
No, she engineered it. I mean, she really set the template for the modern pop star as we know it today.
Absolutely. We are diving into the truly unprecedented career of Janet Jackson.
And when you look at the source material, you realize this is a complex story. The mission here is to understand how this singular singer, songwriter, actress, and dancer.
And you can't forget dancer.
Never how she established this innovative identity that was, completely separate from her incredibly famous family.
That's right. Her story is really a high-stakes study in creative autonomy. It's about pioneering music video artistry, tackling social and sexual politics, all while navigating these immense external corporate pressures.
Our sources give us such a full picture, a 360-degree view, really, from her earliest roles as a child performer all the way up to her latest chart feat in 2025.
It's a career spanning 4 distinct decades. It's kind of staggering.
It is. And in that time, she managed to consistently break gender and racial barriers, often through what seems like just sheer force of will and some very savvy business moves.
And the numbers alone are they're mind-boggling. We're talking about an artist who has sold over 100 million records globally,
100 million.
earned 5 Grammy Awards, and was, I think, very deservedly inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2019.
But beyond the awards, beyond the numbers, her real legacy, I think, lies in the blueprint she created.
Yeah.
This intersection of dance, R&B, and pop.
Right. And critically, she established this core reputation that's really defined by 3 major pillars, according to our material.
Okay, what are they?
First, she was relentlessly innovative, both in her sound and her visuals. Second, she was deeply, deeply socially conscious. And third,
she was definitely willing to be sexually provocative. She owned her maturity at a time when very few of her peers dared to.
Exactly. And what's truly fascinating, I think, is how quickly she transitioned from being, part of the family machine to becoming this industry force who was completely controlling her own destiny.
So I think our first major stop has to be understanding those early years, those formative, often constrained years, and the critical decision she made to separate her professional life from the family structure.
That's where it all begins.
Let's start at the very beginning. She was born Janet Demita Jo Jackson on May 16th, 1966, in Gary, Indiana.
And I mean, given the success of the Jackson 5, entering the entertainment industry wasn't just encouraged.
No, it was basically the family business.
She was almost preordained. She was integrated into this working show business ecosystem so early. She was performing in the Jackson 5 Revue at the MGM Casino on the Las Vegas Strip.
At what age?
At age 7, she was a performer before she, even fully understood what she wanted in life.
And the sources confirm her dreams were actually quite different. She reportedly wanted to be a horse racing jockey.
A jockey, yeah. Or an entertainment lawyer. She saw her early acting gigs as just a way to make money to support those other non-performance goals.
Her early career, though, was so heavily tied to television and that family network, it often felt like just an extension of her brother's legacy.
It really did. She acted in the variety show The Jacksons in 1976, and then she secured that starring role as Penny Gordon Woods on the sitcom Good Times.
Right, starting in 1977. And later, she had the recurring role of Charlene Dupre on Different Strokes.
She also appeared as Cleo Hewitt on the 4th season of Fame, which was a role she apparently was pretty open about not really caring for.
It sounds like this whole period, the early 80s, really paints a picture of a young woman who's trying to navigate a career while under just intense personal pressure.
Mm-hmm. And that's highlighted by her secret, very brief marriage to the R&B singer James DeBarge, which was annulled after only a year.
So her initial foray into music was maybe the clearest example of her career being dictated by others.
Oh, absolutely. Her father, Joseph, managed her career, and he secured her first contract with A&M Records when she was just 15.
15?
She was marketed as the newest star in the Jackson Galaxy, but she didn't have her own artistic identity yet.
And these early albums, they barely made a ripple compared to the behemoth hits she would soon produce.
Not at all. Her self-titled debut, Janet Jackson, from 1982, it peaked pretty low at number 63 on the Billboard 200.
And her second album, Dream Street in '84 did even worse on the main chart. It only hit number 147.
And critically, both of those records were stamped with that label of bubblegum pop.
Right.
They were musically kind of bland. They received minimal, unfocused promotion. They were relying entirely on that recognizable last name.
There was one single, Don't Stand Another Chance, that did okay on the R&B charts.
It did. It peaked at number 9. But overall, these albums really represented a professional dead end for an artist who was clearly looking for substance.
So she's got 2 albums under her belt, both managed by her father, and both are failing to launch her into true stardom. This brings us to the pivotal moment, the conscious choice to seize control.
That decision to terminate all business affairs with her family was the necessary prerequisite for everything that came next.
It sounds like an incredibly difficult, almost radical act for a teenager in that kind of famous family structure.
It was, and the quote perfectly sums up the struggle. She said, "I just wanted to get out of the house, get out from under my father, which was one of the most difficult things that I had to do."
That quote suggests this huge emotional and probably financial hurdle. What was the immediate impact of that break?
The sources indicate it was a really clean, dramatic break that forced her to immediately find her own voice and her own footing.
So she didn't just find a new manager in the family circle.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Instead, she chose to empower herself through a new creative direction. She shifted the focus from management to production, and that act of independence signaled to the entire industry that she was no longer a child novelty act. She was a serious, self-directed artist.
And the end of that arrangement marks the true beginning of Janet Jackson, the revolutionary icon.
Absolutely. That act of independence leads directly into the third major phase of her career, starting in 1986 with the album Control. And it was a seismic shift that fundamentally reshaped both R&B and pop music at the same time.
Central to this reinvention was her partnership with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
The legendary production duo from Minneapolis.
And this collaboration was very strategic.
Oh, their goal was surgical. They wanted to achieve massive crossover pop appeal, which means, white mainstream radio play while keeping this unimpeachable foundation in the urban market.
And they succeeded.
They succeeded by crafting a new sound that felt both tough and sophisticated. And the entire album was reportedly created in just a 6-week, hyper-focused burst of energy.
And the album's thematic core was just as radical. It wasn't just about breakups and romance.
No, it was explicitly rooted in empowerment and self-defense. And that was a response to a deeply personal experience.
Right. She channeled personal trauma into commercial art.
Yes, she's talked about an incident of sexual harassment in a hotel hallway while they were recording. That feeling of needing to protect herself, of establishing clear boundaries, that fueled the assertive lyrics of songs like Nasty and What Have You Done For Me Lately?
She made it clear that those tracks were born out of a sense of self-defense.
Which was a remarkably mature and potent stance for a young pop star in the mid-'80s.
Commercially, Control was just. It was unstoppable. It shot to number 1 on the Billboard 200, sold over 10 million copies worldwide, and established her as a global force.
And it spawned 5 top 5 singles, including her first ever Hot 100 #1 hit, When I Think of You.
But the musical innovation is where the deep dive truly starts to get interesting. Control is universally credited as a seminal album in the new jack swing genre. This wasn't just R&B.
No, it was this highly produced fusion of industrial dance pop, think sharp synthesized bass, layered beats with the rhythmic sensibility and sampling techniques of hip-hop.
Can we break that down a bit? What specific production elements made the sound of new jack swing so distinct from what came before?
Well, the signature element was the use of the digital sampler and the drum machine, specifically the Lindrum. That was combined with massive amounts of reverb and syncopation.
Yeah.
Jam and Lewis introduced what we now call the Minneapolis sound. It's characterized by these synthesized stabs, heavy kick drums, and specific sound effects like gunshots, glass breaking, mechanical clanks, all layered over the beats.
So it sounds aggressive, futuristic.
Exactly metallic. It perfectly matched Janet's tough, assertive voice, and this was a crucial step in blending Blackstreet music with white mainstream pop.
And visually, this was her baptism into MTV superstardom. The videos were they were everywhere.
Oh yeah. They establish her as this instantly dominant figure, talked about in the same breath as Madonna and Michael.
The visual language was so synchronized and athletic.
And that was thanks to the choreography by a then-unknown Paula Abdul. The precision, the sharp movements, the highly stylized looks. It all established her as the definitive singer-dancer.
And the success of those control visuals literally launched Paula Abdul's career. It led directly to her own record deal.
It did.
So following that foundational success, we moved to 1989 and Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation 1814. This wasn't just a pivot. This was an artistic statement of epic proportions.
It was a conscious rejection of the easy path. Her record label desperately wanted Control Part 2.
Just a straightforward dance sequel.
Exactly, and Jackson refused. She chose instead to create this socially conscious concept album that was rooted in unity, responding to media reports of crime, illiteracy, and tragedies that were so prevalent during that era.
So she used the full force of her fame for a mission.
She did. She stated she knew an album couldn't change the world, but the goal was to use the powerful, hypnotic pull of her music and dance to hold the audience's attention long enough for the lyrics to actually sink in.
And Rolling Stone praised this artistic growth, noting that powerful shift from personal freedom to universal concerns.
And commercially, it was a massive triumph. It proved that depth could sell. Rhythm Nation 1814 was certified six-fold platinum, selling over 12 million copies.
It was the highest-selling album of 1990.
It was.
And the chart longevity of this album is just staggering. I mean, it sets records that speak to its broad appeal across every demographic.
It set two major records. First, it became the only album in the history of the Billboard Hot 100 to produce 7 top 5 singles.
7. From one album.
7. A remarkable achievement of just sustained quality. And second, it was the first album ever to produce #1 hits across 3 separate calendar years, 1989, 1990, and 1991.
With singles like Miss You Much, Escapade, and Love Will Never Do Without You. Just wow.
And visually, the Rhythm Nation music video is instantly iconic. That stark black and white aesthetic, the intense synchronized warehouse choreography, her military ensemble.
It cemented her as a fashion icon and a visual standard bearer.
And this era really solidified her status as a global role model. She put her profits into purpose, establishing the Rhythm Nation Scholarship, using tour funds for educational programs.
The Rhythm Nation World Tour itself set a record as the most successful debut tour in history.
And it achieved the fastest sellout of Japan's Tokyo Dome. She wasn't just performing, she was building an empire rooted in discipline and purpose.
So by the early 1990s, the sources confirmed she was in the absolute elite tier. She was being talked about in the same league as Michael, Madonna, Tina Turner.
Right. Ebony magazine even remarked on her stunning style and dexterity.
And all that success provided leverage for the ultimate demonstration of professional control.
Exactly. When her A&M contract was up, she signed her landmark deal with Virgin Records in 1991. It was estimated between $32 and $50 million.
A deal that fundamentally changed the game for female artists. What did it specifically confirm about her standing in the industry?
It made her the highest-paid recording artist in the world at the time. She surpassed previous deals for major male rock stars. This wasn't just a reflection of her past sales. It was an investment in her creative freedom and her business acumen.
So it confirmed her reputation as the queen of pop.
And it established her as a financial power player on par with the industry's biggest moguls. It granted her unprecedented creative latitude for what was to come next.
And that kind of institutional power allowed her to push boundaries even further, which leads us into the album Janet in 1993, which coincided with her film debut. The album itself debuted at #1, making her the first female artist in the verifiable Nielsen SoundScan era to achieve that.
And that SoundScan detail is really important. Before the early 90s, charts relied on estimates. SoundScan introduced accurate point-of-sale data.
So that first week #1 was a verified, overwhelming public demand.
It was. It went on to sell over 14 million copies globally.
And the thematic shift was profound. She moved into these frank, mature discussions of sexuality.
She embraced a larger role in songwriting and production, noting she felt it was necessary to write all the lyrics and half of the melodies. She took absolute ownership of that intimate subject matter.
This was the public declaration of her sexual maturity. Rolling Stone called it a cultural moment.
It was a complete aesthetic departure from the militaristic discipline of Rhythm Nation. She was now embodying this soft, sensual power.
And the imagery cemented that change. We have to talk about the iconic topless Rolling Stone cover photograph.
I mean, everyone remembers that cover. The image, shot by Patrick de Marchelier, shows her topless, with her breasts strategically covered by her then-husband, René Elizondo Jr.
And that image became widely recognizable. It was an undeniable symbol of her new, daring image and confidence.
The Vancouver Sun noted that she had fully merged the identity of role model with sex symbol, which is a very difficult balance that few artists ever achieve.
Musically, the album delivered both rhythmic hits and these tender ballads. That's the Way Love Goes was an 8-week #1 smash.
8 weeks, and it won the Best R&B Song Grammy.
And it showed her versatility. The ballad, again, which was written for her film debut, also hit #1 and got Golden Globe and Academy Award nominations for Best Original Song.
Prestigious nominations.
And that film debut was in John Singleton's Poetic Justice in 1993. How was her performance received?
It was generally well received. Her acting was described as beguiling and believably eccentric.
And beyond the reviews, her look in the film, the box braids, became a massive cultural movement.
Oh, instantly known as the Janet Jackson braids, they influenced fashion and artists for decades to come.
It's important to contextualize this career peak, though, against immense personal difficulty. This was the same period, 1993, when her brother Michael was embroiled in his first child sex abuse scandal.
Her resilience here is key. She maintained her focus, but she publicly offered her brother unwavering moral support, defending him against intense media scrutiny.
And this solidarity culminated in their 1995 duet, Scream.
A single written by both siblings as a direct and very angry response to the toxic media scrutiny they felt they were under.
And the cost of that defiance was enormous. The Scream music video cost $7 million.
Which earned it the Guinness World Record as the most expensive music video ever made. It was an expensive, dramatic statement of shared rage and frustration.
Her institutional power was just undeniable at this point. In 1996, she renewed her contract with Virgin Records for a reported $80 million.
$80 million, which set a new historical benchmark. She surpassed the $60 million contracts of both Michael Jackson and Madonna.
So she secured her place as the then highest-paid recording artist in history for the second time.
She was dictating the terms of the entire industry.
But the next artistic phase, The Velvet Rope in 1997, wasn't driven by defiance or financial muscle. It was driven by profound personal struggle.
That's right. This album chronicled her experience with severe depression and anxiety. It's a testament to the power of artistic therapy.
She debuted a dramatic nude look, red hair, nasal piercings, tattoos reflecting these dark, introspective themes.
And the album centered on the intrinsic need to belong. She was searching for connection through themes previously untouched by mainstream pop.
The themes are heavy: sadomasochism, homophobia, domestic violence in the track What About?
And same-sex relationships in Free Zone.
How did she manage to present these dark topics in a way that was palatable for a mass audience?
She did it by using sophisticated, nuanced production and just powerful sincerity. The track What About is this wrenching address of domestic violence where she sings both the victims' and the perpetrator's lines.
Wow.
And Free Zone was hailed for subtly introducing discussions of sexual identity outside of heteronormativity into black pop. The New York Times called The Velvet Rope her most daring, elaborate, and accomplished album.
This work fully established her as a cultural commentator and a gay icon.
It earned her the Outstanding Music Album Award at the Gilead Media Awards. She also donated portions of the proceeds from the massive global hit Together Again, which was her 8th #1 Hot 100 hit, to the American Foundation for AIDS Research.
So The Velvet Rope really demonstrates the true purpose of her control: the freedom to express painful, intimate truths and use her platform to advocate for social issues.
Turning personal darkness into a universal connection.
Moving into the 2000s, Janet enjoyed this brief period of sustained success right before the controversy that would irrevocably alter her public narrative.
In 2000, she starred opposite Eddie Murphy in her second major film, Nutty Professor II, The Clumps. It opened at #1, grossed $170 million worldwide.
And the film's single, Doesn't Really Matter, became her 9th #1 hit.
Her status as an industry veteran was formalized in 2001 when MTV honored her with the inaugural MTV Icon ceremony, a celebration of her enormous contributions to music, video, and pop culture.
And her album All For You in 2001 saw the highest first-week sales of her entire career, 605,000 copies.
And the title track secured her a Grammy for Best Dance Recording. By the end of 2001, she joined her brother Michael as one of the few artists to score 10 #1 singles on the Billboard Hot 100.
She was at the absolute height of her power, which brings us to 2004. The Super Bowl XXXVIII halftime show controversy, a moment of pure cultural chaos.
This was the incident that was instantly dubbed Nipplegate. During her performance with Justin Timberlake, an intended move went wrong.
Very wrong.
Timberlake tore away a portion of her costume, briefly exposing her right breast to an estimated 140 million viewers.
And the immediate responses were just contradictory, aimed at minimizing corporate liability.
Right. Jackson apologized, stating it was accidental. Timberlake called it a wardrobe malfunction. CBS, the NFL, and MTV all denied any prior knowledge, despite the controversial nature of the performance leading up to that final moment.
The fallout for Janet was immediate and asymmetrical.
Completely. She was forced to withdraw from the Grammys while Timberlake was permitted to attend. Plans for her to star in the Lena Horne biographical film were abruptly halted.
And a Mickey Mouse statue honoring her at Walt Disney World was removed. The industry's punishment was swift and incredibly targeted.
But the most damaging consequence, by far, was the systemic blacklisting that followed.
This was corporate retribution.
Orchestrated at the highest echelons of media power. It was largely driven by Les Moonves, who was the CEO of CBS at the time. He felt personally humiliated by the controversy and saw Jackson as the target for their punishment.
So what were the specific mechanisms of this blacklist? How did they directly affect her career?
The boycott was terrifyingly effective. Powerful Viacom CBS subsidiaries, which included MTV, VH1, and crucial radio broadcasters like Clear Channel and Infinity Broadcasting, instituted a near-total blackout.
A blackout.
It meant her songs weren't added to rotation on major radio. Her videos disappeared from MTV and VH1. And since radio and video play are the primary engines for promoting new music, this drastically reduced her visibility and her ability to compete.
I read a senior Viacom executive later confirmed the pressure was so great they couldn't risk aligning with anything Janet-related.
And this boycott was instituted just before the release of her 8th studio album, Demita Joe, in 2004.
So the timing was just devastating.
It was. Demita Show still debuted strongly at #2, and it went platinum within a month, which shows the underlying strength of her fan base.
But its chart performance was severely affected by that lack of airplay.
Right. And critics noted that album reviews often focused on the Super Bowl incident rather than on the music itself. The control she had fought so hard to gain was, just like that, usurped by corporate decree.
And the lack of airplay continued to cripple her next releases, 20YO in 2006 and Discipline in 2008.
Both albums debuted well, but suffered from that limited promotion and airplay. 20YO even got a Grammy nomination, but both albums failed to achieve the massive success they would have in a fair promotional environment.
Her frustration must have been palpable.
It was. She eventually parted ways with Island Records. Dissatisfied with the promotion of Discipline, she was still fighting the institutional fallout years later.
It's an incredible story of institutional power clashing with artistic freedom. And of course, the technological legacy of the incident is undeniable.
Yes. The Super Bowl incident is directly credited as a major inspiration for the creation of YouTube.
Really? How so?
Co-founder Jawed Karim stated he couldn't easily find videos of the incident online, and that inspired him and his partners to create a platform where anyone could upload and share video content.
So an artist who was systematically silenced by traditional media inadvertently helped create the platform that would eventually circumvent traditional media entirely.
Kind of a poetic digital justice.
Despite that decade of blacklisting, Janet Jackson's artistry endured. So let's analyze her artistic choices, beginning with her vocal technique. As we mentioned, she often faced criticism for lacking the vocal firepower of contemporaries like Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey.
And that's a fundamentally flawed comparison. Janet Jackson's vocal strategy was never about power. It was about rhythm, texture, and control.
She has a mezzo-soprano range.
Right. But her voice is used as this highly sensual, percussive element within the production.
Critics who really appreciate her work, like the composer Louis Andriessen, praised her for her rubato, sense of rhythm, sensitivity, and the childlike quality of her strangely erotic voice.
She whispers, she breathes, she uses the microphone to create intimacy.
Her production team, Jam and Lewis, made sure her voice was seamlessly integrated into the track.
Exactly. Transitioning effortlessly between rhythmic toughness to soulful emoting to a flirty softness. Her focus was on slamming beats, infectious hooks, and impeccable production values, with her voice serving the beat.
And that innovation was key to developing contemporary R&B by integrating rap vocals and sharp, synthesized textures into the genre.
Yes. Now let's talk about her unparalleled influence in choreography and visuals.
Her impact there is just Undeniable.
Heavily influenced by musicals and figures like Fred Astaire, she established a new standard for synchronized cinematic pop videos. She brought professional choreographers like Tina Landon and Paula Abdul to prominence.
The sources are clear. Her work serves as the blueprint for every major pop diva who came after.
Britney Spears, Jennifer Lopez, Beyoncé, the list goes on.
The sheer physical demand of her choreography often led to that perennial controversy about lip-syncing during her massive stadium tours.
And critics offered a strong defense. It seems physically unlikely that any human could perform her level of strenuous, high-speed choreography for 90 minutes and still provide powerful, expected vocals.
So the use of pre-recorded vocals was viewed as a pragmatic necessity.
For the kind of demanding theatrical spectacle she produced, yes.
And we've seen her lyrical evolution shift from personal self-actualization to politically driven ideology, and finally to deep emotional and social commentary. She has consistently pushed cultural limits.
The sociologist Shane Lee specifically highlighted Free Egg Zone from The Velvet Rope as a rare, important instance of a popular black vocalist exploring romantic or sensual energy outside of heteronormativity,
making it a highly significant song in black sexual politics.
She consistently used her platform to address sensitive issues.
And her ability to take control, which began with control, continued into her modern business dealings. In 2015, she launched her own record label, Rhythm Nation.
This was a landmark move. It established her as one of the few African-American female musicians to actually own her record label,
which ensures she controls the creative and financial masters of her own work.
Her 11th studio album, Unbreakable, was the first release on the label.
And that album proved her resilience. It debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, becoming her 7th career album to top the chart.
It demonstrated her enduring artistic relevance years after the blacklisting attempts.
And her recent touring success is monumental. The Together Again tour, spanning 2023 through 2024, became the highest-grossing tour of her entire career.
It proves her live draw is stronger than ever.
And she continues to make chart history. In 2025, she was featured on Cardi B's track Principle.
And this appearance made Janet Jackson the first black female artist to chart new songs across 5 distinct decades on the Hot 100.
5 decades. That is incredible longevity.
Her legacy is just so multidimensional. She's recognized for playing a pivotal role in crossing racial boundaries in the recording industry, what the sources call racial transcendence.
Where black artists like her, Prince, and Michael Jackson successfully moved from being siloed as black music into the universal sphere of pop.
She achieved superstar status through financial breakthroughs, business savvy, and this fierce commitment to creative autonomy. It allowed her to test the limits of her transformative power across music, film, and concert tours.
And we circle back to the central theme of her entire career: control and her public voice, especially in the modern era of instant media consumption.
That's the perfect note to conclude our deep dive on, because even an artist who defined her career through meticulous control still faces challenges in the contemporary landscape.
Right. We have to address the very recent confusion surrounding a comment she made in a September 2024 interview with The Guardian regarding a political figure.
Yes. During the interview, Jackson made a statement about U.S. Vice President and presidential candidate Kamala Harris. She claimed she heard that Harris was not black and stated, quote, "Her father's white. That's what I was told. I mean, I haven't watched the news in a few days. I was told that they discovered her father was white."
For the record, Harris's father is black, and her mother was Indian. Facts Janet Jackson seemed to misunderstand in that interview.
A statement that was quickly followed by confusion regarding a retraction, complicating her public voice.
That's right. Some media outlets reported a subsequent statement from a man named Mo El Masri, who claimed to be Jackson's manager, and stated that Jackson was apologizing and retracting the remarks.
However, the source material notes it was later found that this individual, Mo El Masri, was not actually authorized to speak on her behalf when he issued that statement.
So we have an icon who defined her career through radical control, releasing albums inspired by self-defense and self-determination.
And then she finds her public voice confused and potentially mismanaged by an unauthorized source regarding a sensitive political comment.
It raises a powerful question that encapsulates her entire journey, from nasty to owning her own label.
What does Janet Jackson's journey, this constant fight for autonomy, this ability to redefine herself time and again, ultimately teach us about the ongoing challenge for even the most established icons to fully manage their public narrative versus the reality of public perception in the modern entertainment complex.
A challenge that, even after charting new music across 5 decades, remains inescapable. That's a profound note to end our deep dive on the unbreakable legacy of Janet Jackson.
Thank you for joining us as we unpacked one of pop culture's true architects.
We hope this deep dive helps you appreciate the full, complex, and incredibly innovative genius of Janet Jackson. Until next time.